an assumption there that the earnings are known 3 months in advance. And again, with earnings, when companies announce earnings, they usually do it right every 3 months for 4 times a year, right? 4 quarters. The date itself is not known unless the company itself issues a press release or says on their website when the next earnings date is, right? So when you know when a company issues a press release and says this is the date and time we're going to release the earnings, then we'll know. So that's what we do. So where do these dates come from? Let's go just so you guys understand it. Again, there's no central
No, there's even
or
there's actually
there's
no
less,
place to go.
right?
Like we can go to the Oprah feed and pull that information and get it. This information has to be consolidated by individual entities, which we're
Right,
one of the consolidators.
exactly. There's no central place where the companies that issue earnings releases that they have to report to and say this is the date we're going to issue the press. This is the exact date and time that we're going to release our earnings, right? Next quarter, the following quarter. They don't have to do that, right? They there's no obligation for them to say, oh, here's a government agency and we this is when we're going to submit, and we could go to that government agency and say, oh, okay, when is that date? Doesn't exist. So some companies, they'll just issue a an earnings and don't tell you ahead of time, we are going to release earnings on such and such date. So let's look it up here. We'll say it like, let's see if we could find an example here. So here's one. MIND, right? Announces first quarter earnings release and call schedule. So here they say that MIND, what is this company? Mind Technology. They just issued a press release that they are going to announce earnings on the market close Monday, June 10th, right? And they're going to have a conference call on June 11th at 9 a.m. So this is the first we would know about it, right? We don't. How do we know it's going to be June 9th, June 10th? We don't know. Like they have to tell us, and they could change their mind and issue a different press release and say, hey,
Well, they don't have to tell us. They just have to make an announcement to the entire marketplace, right?
you don't. Yeah, they don't
And
have to say to
that's
us
the
like the
rule.
public,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not Market Chameleon.
We
They
actually have to go out and find that information.
right.
We
So until they issue a press release or they issue something on their website and their investor relations, nobody really knows exactly when it's going to be. And here is the first guidance we have. This was today at 7 a.m. Right? This is the press release. Well, now that we have this information, right? It's not coming. You see, I didn't. It's not like I went to some government agency and found this out. This is an article, right? That we picked up that we pay. So these articles we also, pay to receive these feeds, and then now we have a group of data entry, and analysts inside our firm looking through these press releases and say, okay, now we know this date entered into the database. So like today, somebody in our group will find this, enter June 10th and June 11th will be their conference call. And then once it's in our database and it goes through a verification process, then it will get, our system will pick it up and add it to the calendar. But until we have this information, we don't know. There's no way for us to know before this was released June 3rd, 7 a.m. How would we know it's exact? Now, we could try to estimate the next date. We could look at the historical patterns of releases and say, okay, yeah, they release every year, 4 times a year, usually around these dates. They could vary a little bit, they could vary a lot. So we create a projection of when the next release will occur. However, even though we have this information now, right? And you could see it's June 3rd. They just told us June 10th they're going to release it. This isn't 3 months old. They're telling us, 7 days before the date. Right? This is where we're getting this information. So I think he said like 3 months before. This is 7 days before the release. This is when they let us know. And now that we have this confirmation, we're going to enter it into our database, and then it'll show up in the earnings calendar. Now, keep in mind, and this happens all the time, they'll reschedule. Sometimes the company says, oh, wait a minute, we have to reschedule for this and this reason. Sometimes maybe the accountants have to fix something on there, and they have to fix something in their earnings releases, or they have a meeting with investors that they have to switch to. Sometimes we could say we have a confirmation June 10th, and then tomorrow they might say, oh, we have to reschedule, and then we have to say, okay, it's no longer June 10th, it might be June 12th or so forth. All this stuff here, it's not, when we're trying to pick these even dividends and so forth, there are a lot of manual processes going on to structure this data. I think people just assume it just exists somewhere magically and it's easy to get, but it's not the case. Everybody who's doing this would have to go through this process of trying to find information. And just like here, here's, let me see how it would look. Here's another one. Here's one that announces preliminary earnings. So we would tag that. So here,
some will just come out and announce their earnings in a press release,
right,
with no
indication
previously, no date given, nothing.
Right. So here's one, that's saying this, they're going to announce this Great Southern Bancorp. So this was on May 31st. They announced, that they're gonna release July 16th. So you could see this isn't 3 months ahead, maybe a month and a half, but one release was 7 days before they announced. This one's a month and a half. They all vary. There's no obligation here for them to say you have to give the next date, right away. That doesn't exist. So this is why you're going to see certain stocks that we will know maybe 2-3 months in advance. Sometimes they'll give you a schedule. Some of them will give you a 1 year schedule. Some of them will tell you a week before, and that's when we get that latest confirmation. So so I clicked on this press release, and here's the press release. This is what it looks like. All right. This is the official, the press release comes from the company itself. So this is an official source for that information. You could go, you can go to different websites and, whatever, they have calendars. Some people say, well, I saw it on this calendar, but that's not an official source. We wait to receive that information from the official source, which is the company itself, right? So this press release is coming from the company itself. Okay, and that's where we get that information. Our team looks through these press releases, parses them, and adds it to the calendar.
All right, we had one last question from Dimitra. He was asking, how do I use MC to track stock volatility and options volume a month before earnings? That was a question. Is there such a possibility? Was after.
Uh, well, I mean, I'm not sure exactly because it sounds to me like is I'm not sure what the question is looking because based on the previous question, the assumption was I could see the volume, the forward volume and volatility, but we can't do that, right? So we don't know what the volume will be in a month, but you could look at the
You
historical
can go to the history and look a month
volume.
before is what you can do.
You could look at the historical volume at any time, right? Because the historicals already happened, so you could go and analyze historical volume, volatility. We could look at here's I want to be careful because just the way the question was worded originally, it sounded like there's an assumption that you could analyze what the volume will be like in a month, but we don't know that information. But we could go to like say Apple earnings, and we could look at, there's a lot of different reports here. But if we wanted to see the earnings moves, we could see the past earnings moves, right? Let's see what did the stock do at the opening gap. How did it move from the open to the high? How did the stock tend to move going into earnings, starting 2 weeks before, a week before, even a day before. So you have all these summary stats over here just on how the stock behaved, right? We could look at the interactive charts. We could see how, over here, we do these, each of these tools would probably take me, a whole morning to go over, and we do these all the time. But even here, if we wanted to see how did the straddle look like right before the earnings release, these are what the straddle premiums were priced at historically before the earnings release. Now we don't know what it will be on the next one, but we could look at history to see, well, what were the averages? What were the ranges, the high and the low? This gives us a idea of where potentially it could be priced, and then we could compare is when it comes closer to that date, if it's on the low range, on the high range, near the average, and so forth.
All right. Well, Demetra, let us know if that helps. Any other questions? You can always email support at MarketChameleon.com with any follow-up questions or thoughts. We did have a question from Rob, excuse me, about different, I think they're ETFs. What was the question from Rob? Rob was asking,
Yep.
is there a way to get a full list of yield max funds? Are those providers on Mark Chameleon?
I am not sure what that is, so I can't answer that question.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that
Rob,
is.
if you want to send over where yield max funds are they an ETF? Are they a mutual fund? We don't have any mutual funds on the site.
Yeah, I think the yield max fund, they might be the ones that are
they're yield max ETF, actually.
I think that they're the ones that are doing the either the buy rights or the naked put selling. Is that the one like where they do?
It could be. Well, they were talking, as I'm looking at it, they're talking about TSLY, which is one of
so right.
I can send you the link to their website so we have it.
Yeah. Let me see if you could screen it by ETFs. Maybe in here, ETF screener. Let me just see here if it's in here. What is it?
Yield max. TSLY is one of the symbols. I only know because they were talking about it in the chat.
I don't see it.
So it says TLSY. Another one is NVDY. It's the other one he typed in.
they have them here as Elevate shares. Let me see if that's it.
We do have NVDY. I see it popped up. I mean, we have data on it.
So let me just see if these are them. I think they're categorized as Elevate shares, maybe. You know, this is so here are the yield max, right? Name. I guess the family is Elevate shares. That's also from our vendor we're getting, but it looks to me like these would be the list of them over here that are in our database. Is this maybe what Rob's looking for?
Rob, let me know if that's what you're looking for, but it does look like they're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, you could also type in here like yield max. Where is yield max like this? Here, I'm gonna just let's see if there's more. So if it's in the name, this search here looks, you know, it will search all the anything that contains that word in it, yield max. So you could do it that way. But I believe these look like what Rob might be.
Yeah, no, that he said that's exactly what he's looking for. So please just
Okay.
show him the clicks to get there, maybe from how he gets there, just maybe go out and then come back.
Yeah, so it's under screeners ETFs over here. And then it makes it a little bit easier because it's in the name, right? The yield max is in the name here. So this is way you could search it. You could do it from the stock screener, I think, too. Let me just try from the stock screener. So in the stock screener, let's see if it works here. So here's yield max. I typed it in, and these all look like they're the yield max.
It looks like there are 19 of them or something.
Yeah, or like 25 of them, maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Very cool. All right. Well, we're
All
right
right.
up against the opening bell. Great questions from the Chameleon community today. Any follow-up questions, just email support@MarketChameleon.com. Thanks, D.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for the questions. Everyone stay safe out there. Have a great trading day and hope to see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Trading